I feel like I'm like running so late, but I still got this giant ass coffee.
Dude, that actually triggers me back to high school when I was running late for softball. I was actually very, very early for a softball game. And so I went to McDonald's to go and get a breakfast sandwich. And then I was like, okay, now I should probably go pump gas before I go to the game because like that just seems like a good idea. And so I go and pump gas. I'm like, oh, I'll just eat the breakfast sandwich when I get in the bus to go to the game. For some reason, I'm struggling at the pump and it's not pumping. I can't get it to go. And all of a sudden, I become late to softball. And I walk on with my fucking McDonald's bag. And my coach is like, so you had time to go to McDonald's, but you didn't have
You
time to make it on the
couldn't
bus. And
couldn't
I was
be
like,
here. Literally
actually, believe it
me
or
leaving
not, I had
yearbook.
time prior. Um,
Literally, that's me like running late to your Miss Spano's like yearbook class every morning. And I had Starbucks or Dunkin', and usually Sia was with me, and we were both late.
and that's just the way that it goes, man. That's how high school was supposed to go.
Literally, I almost did wear today my brother CJ's hoodie in honor of you being a Miami alum.
Aw, dude, do you want to hear something actually crazy? So my boss went to Miami too. And
Really?
yeah, Joe, he's my boss.
Shut up. He
Yeah,
went to Miami.
he went to Miami, super random. We're getting another girl that's living in my house that went to Miami.
I wonder what Miami thinks of the ranch life that they're setting
Dude,
their students up.
I told when I was in Amsterdam, I saw President Crawford.
Shut
And
up.
yes, I did. As soon as I got off my aircraft, and I am like in this daze because it was a overnight flight from the US to Europe, and I'm like in a daze. I see this woman that looks like our president's wife, and I'm like, I think that might be her. And so I'm sitting there looking at her. I pull up a picture on Google and show my friend Audrey like, is this woman? And she's like, yes, 100%. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna wait here and see who she's waiting for, and then I'll definitely know, like, for a solid
Yeah.
fact. So as soon as I see this bald man walk off a plane with the Miami emblem on his lapel, I was like, that is my president of my school. What? And so those are the first people I saw in Amsterdam.
Did you say hi?
Yes, obviously I did. I quite literally chased them down in the airport and I said, Dr. Crawford, wait. And they both turn around because they're both Dr. Crawford. And they look at me, not recognizing me, obviously.
Yeah, it's like
A
there's like a
massive
million.
school, yeah. And so I'm like, oh, I went to Miami, like love and honor, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, nice. What are you doing here? And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
I'm not using my biomedical engineering
I was like,
and I live in Colorado.
yeah, exactly. I was like, so my friend and I actually work on a ranch and we have a few months off. And so we decided to just travel. And they're like, nice, nice.
Honestly, though, I was just telling someone yesterday, I was like, Sarah is the happiest person I know right now, like in life. Like, I'm like, she is like thriving. And I was like, no one could literally say anything about what she's doing because she is happier than you could ever dream of being right now.
Yeah, that's honestly, it is. And I'm glad that it seems that way because it definitely ebbs and flows. Because it is like, it is such a fun experience. And I love my life currently. And it's so fun. But the impending like reality is crouching in on me. Like in the winter, I was invincible. I was unstoppable. I was like,
Yeah.
this is my jam. I don't need to worry about anything because I'm coming back in the summer. And
Yeah.
like I'm gonna have a little break and go to Europe and do my the things that I want to do. And now I'm back for the summer. And I'm like, okay, I turned 26 this year. Like homegirl needs insurance. Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like insurance, I'm like, we are in our childbearing years also.
hmm
Like,
hmm
I'm like, there's like a lot that needs to start happening.
Oh, girl, I know. But then I listened to this podcast and they were talking about how people in their 20s have this agenda in their head of all the things that they have to do by a certain age. And it's obviously like a made up, not real agenda. And so a lot of people just settle and they settle into things. Like, and that's why the divorce rate is so high because people are like, oh, I met this person. I like them enough to get married. I'm going to just get this out of the way, off of my agenda, off of my list of things to do. And then I can start worrying about X, Y, and Z if I want to get a job, where I want to move. And it's like people want to start taking stuff off their plate. So then they start settling. And I was like, you know what? I'm ahead of the game. I'm on it.
No, literally, and I think so many people like when I hear, I'm like, I think you're just like very like people get very comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to be uncomfortable. And
Yep.
like so they stay in their relationships, not even out of like love. They're just like,
This is what my
like,
life is.
yeah, and like this is just what I'm rolling with. And I'm like, well, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do that either.
Yeah. And that's what's so wild about this world that I'm currently living in is that the people that work here don't necessarily come from the same background. So like yeah, there's people that went to college that work here, but there's also a lot of people that the norm is this. The norm is working a seasonal job here and a seasonal job there and going and doing whatever. And it is just so interesting to hear about everybody's basic life plan and trajectory that they're planning to take in life because it is so different from person to person and it makes life seem so much more interesting because when I was in Boston, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I work a 9 to 5. Oh yeah, I do this
Yeah.
after I go to." I'm like, "Oh my, that, that, mm,
And it's
it,
usually
it,
miserable.
well, everyone's miserable, but it's also just like, why is that what everyone is doing?
Yeah.
You know?"
And now you're like in a place where everyone's like has these like cool like backgrounds and like
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like so it's like I feel like my dad always says like he's like I'm 60 something and I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Like he's like I don't know like we I feel like we have very similar relationships with our dads where they're
Yes.
like are like people
Yep.
person
Oh,
and
yeah.
tell them probably like
1000%.
and we probably tell them like way more than like the normal father-daughter relationship.
1000%.
And like, I don't know, he's like, Sophia, like the grass is not always like greener. Like even with like dating, like my dad's
Mhm.
like, Sophia, there's a difference between having high standards and being nitpicky.
That is so true, and that is also something that I'm coming to terms with, is like, there's an entire world out there that we're able to get our hands on via social media. And so having these impossibly high standards of meeting people in real life and being like, no, because I saw someone on Instagram that like they look this way or they act this way or they do this thing. And that's what I want. But girly pop, when the fuck are you gonna meet that person?
No, literally. And it's like everyone like wants and like just like little things. Like I swear there was like a point where like there was someone I was like that they were like a good person. And I mean, granted, there was a lot of things, but like that like would not have worked out. But like one of the things that really bothered me were they were like allergic to peanut butter.
That is bothersome, yes.
Like I was like, I eat peanut, like I drink almond milk every day. I was like, I would have to make some major lifestyle changes in order to
Hmm.
make you.
Yeah,
I put
totally.
like peanut butter in my smoothies.
Yep, yep. Have you ever seen Seinfeld?
No, I actually have never watched Seinfeld.
Dude, you are Seinfeld. So the okay, there's no plot to the story or there's no plot to the show. It's like the original sitcom show. And in the only like common thread is that Jerry Seinfeld dates women throughout the entire series. And he breaks up with a woman pretty much every episode for some really small reason. Like the first one that comes to mind is this girl wore the same dress on her date 3 dates in a row and he's like, "No. She doesn't have any other clothes. I don't think she has any. I can't date somebody that only wears the same thing. What if she doesn't look good in anything else?"
Yeah,
Like,
no, valid though.
it's
Valid.
so valid. And
Valid.
like every one of them has just like the smallest little thing wrong, quote unquote, wrong with them.
Yes, and I'm like, and then I get confused. I'm like, okay, like, is this a high standards thing, or am I just being like rude?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm really struggling with like the line of like which because like looks aren't forever. So I really in
True.
like looks aren't forever. People
Hmm.
bald, people have
Yep.
children, people their bodies change.
Yep. Hmm.
And then like I don't know, they just like say something. It could be the smallest thing, or like, and
Girl,
then
I
no,
know. Because my issue is this. My issue is that I romanticize every single person, like every single person that I meet. Like, it doesn't matter what gender you are. I become obsessed with you to the point where I am with you all the time. I'm talking to you all the time. And then one day will come and it's like, I've spent too much time with you. I know too many of your idiosyncrasies. I know too many of your mannerisms. And now I'm grossed out. I don't want to know anymore. I don't want to know any more about you. I don't want to know. And then I just freak myself out. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why do I do this?
why did I just find like the littlest thing to like be like, of course my family's trying to call me right now. I mean, they're like ridiculous. I mean, what are they doing? Stop calling me.
Is it Michael and your dad or just your dad?
No, my family, like, we have like a family group chat and they like try to like spam it like 5 times a day to say like,
What?
I don't even know. It's probably my dad like initiating it. But yeah. My dad and brother, they are roommates because they both live at home.
Your roommate.
And my childhood home is really giving like fraternity house.
That is actually hilarious. That
And they
is
both work remote, so it's literally their home office, sleeping arrangements, and yeah, like I'll be sitting on the couch and like it's like me and like their girlfriends and them.
me and my girlfriend, their girlfriend.
Like the other day, it was like Easter, like for me last Sunday because of
Yeah.
Orthodox Easter, and I was telling Michael and Maddie, I'm like, honestly, like you guys aren't gonna know what to do when I get a boyfriend. I was like, because like we get dinner, the three of
Hmm.
us, we go to the movies, we like do the whole
Hmm.
thing. And I told my dad, I was like, Dad, like when I get a boyfriend, he goes, I just had a stroke. What'd you I was like, he's like, Sophia, like he's like, you find something wrong with everyone. Like my dad came out with us in Cleveland for my birthday, and he's like, I just don't understand how you haven't found someone. There are so many men in Cleveland. And I'm like, where? Like, where were you looking? You can confidently,
Please point them out, bring them over. I would like to meet them.
I'm like, where in Cleveland, Ohio, were you at? Where you can confidently say there was so many men?
That
Where?
is so funny. What did you set your hinge to?
No,
Bill?
like sometimes I put my hinge like on our TV at our house.
Uh,
And my dad's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "These people need help."
yeah.
Voice memos
Yeah.
really get my family. They're like, "Why are people putting voice memos
Dude,
of
I I get honestly like I don't look at Hinge with other people like you do. So like I'm typically either in bed or on the toilet looking at Hinge as one is. And I see a voice memo. It's a jump scare. I'm not looking at that. I'm not listening to that. I'm not the acoustics in the bathroom are not accessible for that audio message that you have on there. And what it is going to remain a secret. I never want to know.
literally no. Honestly, it's tr you should be very lucky that you wait, do you tell people at the ranch that you're from Canton, Ohio?
Noted. I like so it's dude, my life so I guess I don't know wouldn't be so the when you ask me where I'm from, I give you the most roundabout fucking answer. The most
What's like the first thing that what state do you say first?
well, this is what I say. It's actually just a journey. It's not even it's like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, actually I'm a nomad. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I grew up in Ohio, then I moved down to Georgia, then up to South Carolina, graduated school from Ohio, moved to Massachusetts, then moved to San Diego. Now I'm here. And they're like, oh, you are a nomad. I'm like, yeah.
At Miami, did you tell people you were from Ohio?
No, dude. No. Because it got to the point where it was like, okay, I would tell people that I'm from Ohio, and then I would say, oh yeah, I'm going home this weekend. They're like, oh, like how many hours is it? I'm like, oh, it's like 9. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm going home, like to South Carolina. And they're like, I thought you were from Ohio. I'm like,
Like
so
Canton, Ohio. Not just Ohio, Canton, Ohio.
North Canton, dude. Don't even just generalize
I think you
Canton
should
like
come
that.
home this summer for a weekend.
Dude, what is home? I haven't been to Ohio in, or I haven't been to Canton in like 8 years.
Probably but it's not since like the time you came home for the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, like 2 years ago.
Oh my God. I totally forgot about that. That blacked out from my memory. I was there for like 4 hours, dude. I was there for 4 hours and it was traumatizing. Oh my God. Because it's so funny. Every time I talk to you and Kendra, you always think that I remember every little detail about Canton. And
I
and I don't. You're like, oh, we went to tugboats. I'm like, what is that? Where is that? Last time I was there, I was 17. I don't know what
know that
tugboats
is
is.
so like now you like Canton has a Ferris wheel now.
What?
Like where the Hall of Fame is, they built like a giant Ferris wheel.
Why?
They built like they're really trying to make like the Hall of Fame like a thing. So
Stop
there's
trying
like
to
a
make
ton
the
of
Hall of Fame happen. It's not
no,
gonna
it's called the
happen.
Hall of Fame Village.
Shut up.
And they have like a Ferris wheel, all these restaurants.
Are they good restaurants?
I haven't been to them, but I've heard
Honestly, a wild fact about Canton, Ohio is that they have the most restaurants per capita in the entire United States. Google it. It's insane.
well, it's so funny. I was with my friend Emily. She actually went to Miami too yesterday. We were grabbing drinks, and then like it's Evan's birthday tomorrow, so we met like everyone after, and I'm like, yeah, like they're from Cannes, but they
Wait,
also
Emily Owenbose?
yes,
Shut the fuck up.
yeah. So we were grabbing a drink yesterday. Yes, you Miami alum,
Flesh.
and she was like, "Is Canton like really big?" Because like there was like 30 Canton people like just like in one rest like bar area, and I was like, no.
No,
I
it's
was like,
not.
it's actually really small. I was like, a lot of people just like also went to John Carroll.
Hmm. Was she like, oh?
And I'm like, so I was like, but yeah, I was like, everyone here either is from Canton and still lives in Canton or went to John Carroll and lives in Cleveland.
Hmm.
And there's
Hmm.
really, that's like, and it made up like 40 people.
That's insane, actually. That and that's the Ohio effect, dude. I have never been to another location where there is that strong of a presence for that long. Ohio just has that, I don't know what it is. Like y'all love it and I can't grasp it. I don't get it. Like what is the lure? What is the lore? What is the appeal? I actually
I don't know.
stop. I know what it is. Affordability. You can afford to be a baller there, dude. You can live in a penthouse suite for as much as I was paying for a Murphy bed to pull down from my wall in San Diego.
I heard, well, even like you lived in Boston, I heard
Dude.
Boston's like, and like even like Cleveland now though is getting like me and Kendra were talking the other day, like when we first graduated college, like our
Hmm.
first jobs, like I was making nothing my first job out of college. But
Hmm.
I and like now that I'm making some insane amount of money, I'm not, but I feel like now like I have so much less money than when I did
Hmm.
right out of college. Like I'm
Hmm.
like Kendra, like we were going out to eat all the time. We were like
Hmm.
buying any clothes we wanted. Like we were like
Hmm.
we weren't even thinking about like how much we were spending
Yeah.
because like it was just like we had the money and we were making like no money, but like we had money and now we're like, how on earth are we like,
How am I gonna make this paycheck last for four
yeah,
weeks? Yeah.
yeah, we're like, how on earth did it go from that and we're making more money now and it's like we have less.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like and we're in Cleveland, so I can't even imagine like how people are in like bigger cities like Boston or San Diego and
Yeah.
like even like New York or Chicago.
It was egregious. I remember when I was living in Boston, I had a grocery store right next to my apartment. And so I would just walk over there and get groceries. I remember I came home with eggs, bread, chocolate chips, and bananas. And my receipt was $23.
Like, isn't that crazy? Like, that
And
is insane.
I literally just put that on my counter and I was like, in what world is these items summing up to that much money? Like that is insane. So to put that into perspective for you, and for everybody listening, is that I make $14 an hour now. So that bread, those bananas, that egg, that chocolate chip, that is more than an hour's worth of work to me.
We just I know I told my brother, well, I told Michael, I'm like, because Michael, his job's in like the west side of Cleveland, but he
Mm-hmm.
only has to go in the office right now once a week.
Mm-hmm.
So he's living in Canton.
And
And I'm like,
commuting.
Michael, just like you only have to go in the office once a week. Just drive to Cleveland once a week.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to like not like you're not paying rent, you're not paying for groceries.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to buy like a bunch of work clothes because you're only going to the office once a week. Like milk
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Milking is long. I was like, Michael, I did the opposite and I like could not because I lived at home at a college for like 2.5 months and I like was like, I'm getting out of here. I
Yeah.
was like, Dad, Michael, love you both,
Mm-hmm.
but
GTG. Bye.
what it's like living with just men.
Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know too. Like being like I feel like we are very similar. We both were raised with like men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
And we both
it
have a
shows,
very
like
similar
literally.
relationship with our brother, and we both have a
Yeah.
very similar relationship. Yeah. So no, I get it. I get it.
And my dad, like, I'm like, like, one of the things my dad told me the other day, it made me, something we just said made me think of it. He's like, maybe you're like, he's like, you need to maybe start acting more ladylike around men or something. And I was like, Dad, like, I was like raised as like from 12 on by you and Michael.
Mm-hmm. Dude, same. Literally the same age too. Like
Yeah.
I was 11, 12 years old, and it was just me, my dad, and my brothers. And I think to myself all the time, because also another commonality between the two of us is we don't shut the fuck up. And that's another thing about having brothers. Like you can just say whatever you want to them. And half the time, number one, they're not listening. And number
Yeah.
two, they just are desensitized and they don't care. And so I take that mentality out into the world. I'm like, hey, I'm going to just for the next 20-ish minutes. If you want to interject, go ahead. But nothing I'm going to say is really important.
Literally, my brother would just be like, okay, like, well, I'll call him and he'll be like, okay, well, we've been on the phone for 12 minutes now, so now I'm gonna hang up.
No, that's how Nico and I are too. Like, I'll call him. We talk in like Southern accents when we first answer the phone, like real thick Southern accents. And I don't know, like, we always kind of in the back of our heads are like, when is the Southern accent going to stop and we're going to actually like have a conversation?
Yeah.
And but then it just like fades out. And we'll be on the phone for like an hour and we're like, so what did we talk about? What did we just chat about for an hour? What do we and then we chat again for another hour trying to figure out what we just talked about.
No. And like I saw a thing the other day where it was like honestly, I really think it was like Madison Beer said it or something. It was on my
Poetic.
but it was like really like genuine. Like she was like your relationship with your siblings is single-handedly probably one of the most important relationships in your
Mm-hmm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is like I could not imagine like my brother, especially like which is like life, like they really are like there for you. And
Mm-hmm.
like have your back and like sometimes like yes you need the tough love from like your dad but you also need someone to just be
Hey, dad sucks for that, right?
like
Yeah.
their dads are humbling they know
Dads
you
are
more than
humbling.
they know you better than you know yourself
Yeah.
and but they'll humble you and sometimes like you need it but you also just you need like the humbling but you need someone to be there after they humble you to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like lift you back up
Yeah. They're
especially like
also equally hype man. Like
oh
hype
yes
man, hype man, hype man. My dad is like getting on YouTube, like, gotta get those clicks up, gotta get those clicks up.
no my dad's like really my dad would probably be a great guest on this podcast. My dad's currently trying to become an influencer.
So is my dad.
Wait, our dad should start a podcast together.
Dude, they should.
It actually would probably be really good.
I would agree, actually. Yeah, no, that
My
would.
dad wants to be like I don't know if you're friends with my dad on LinkedIn.
Oh yes. Oh my God, he wants to be a LinkedIn influencer. Shut
He wants to
up.
be like a financial advising
Slacking. You know who he should follow? You know, he needs to start doing bits. He needs to start doing like those reels where it's like, hey, did you hear? And it's like, no, I haven't heard that yet. I love those. So my favorite financial advice person on social media is Mrs. Dow Jones. She is an absolutely, you would love her. Number one, because I think she's Orthodox Greek. I may just be making that up. I think that she is. Um, Anyways, her name is Mrs. Dow Jones. It's like Haley something, but she puts all financial advice into current events. And so she explained the issue with the Taylor Swift tickets and like why it was such a big deal, and explained like Silicon Valley in relationship to Taylor Swift tickets. And I was like, "Oh, like remember when the Silicon Valley Bank like
Yeah.
grew and like they had
Yes,
a
'cause
bunch
I
of
worked for a company that like had it.
Oh, dude, same. Like we wrote, I think it wasn't Fun That Flip a startup. Yeah.
Yes.
So was Paperless. And so when we like heard about Silicon Valley Bank, we're like, well, are we gonna get paid? Well, are we gonna get paid?
Like paydays tomorrow.
Payday's tomorrow. I'm expecting a check to come in. I would like to pay for my rent.
Things like that, like I don't know. They're so like I don't know, like have you started thinking about kind of like what you want to do next? Like do you want to do more like contract stuff? Like do you want to do like did you like being at a startup or do you want to do like
Yeah. So it's kind of wild. I've lived so many lives
yeah,
since
like you've
graduating
bounced around.
college. Yeah, I've moved around, bounced around, changed careers, quit my career, and now I'm kind of in a place where reality is setting in because I have 5.5 months before I'm out of here. For me, my job searches typically took me 6 months to find someplace to go. Like it
Yeah.
takes a while because you have to network, you have to do all like,
It is crazy. Like I have some friends that were laid off in like October
mhm,
and they're still looking for like jobs now and it's what, May?
yeah.
Like you go on LinkedIn and a job is posted and there's like 300 applicants in 1 hour.
Yeah. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So I have gotten all my jobs through networking.
Yeah,
Um and
same.
that has been in that's how I intend on getting my next job, honestly. Like I submit my application, sure, but then I message the hiring manager. I find three people on the sales team to message because salespeople are always on their LinkedIn. And I'm like, you probably get a referral bonus if I get a job here. So I'm gonna help you out if you help me out. And so I message three people on the sales team and then I try and find one other person with a similar role to what I just got, like what I just applied for, to see if they're willing to talk to me about the position and then see if they'll chat to the hiring manager. That's what my plan is.
Can't just like you can't just apply for a job
No.
anymore. That's
No.
just like the reality of life. If you're just submitting your resume to a job, you're not gonna get it. And you're not
No.
gonna get even like the HR like what are your strengths and weaknesses call.
Yeah. No,
Like,
it's wild. And I was listening, I was going to say a podcast, but literally I think it was a TikTok. I was listening to a TikTok about this girl who was struggling. She got laid off from her career and is just looking for, she was calling it a bridge job of like a part-time no, a full-time job in like waitressing or just like in customer service and that sort of realm. And she was saying that she had to do 3 rounds of interviews to be a server. And I was like, okay, that's kind of extreme. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that you're underqualified or like servers don't have the same career spans or
yeah,
they don't have the same career
right.
trajectory
Right.
as
But
people.
still,
But still, like, serving is either like you have experience and you can do it or you can't. Like,
yeah.
and
Well,
she's
the
said the
whole
same thing about dishwashers. And I was like, that is wild.
the whole interviewing thing is just like I was interviewing for a job where it was a Cleveland job and I had like 5 interviews, these like draining interviews. And then
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we really like you, but would you ever move to Pittsburgh? And so I was like, okay, like, yeah, like I would move to, I really like the company. Like their
Mm-hmm.
culture really stood out to me. And like, I've kind of learned over time, like, I'd rather have a job I don't love, but like a good team and culture.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I just, for me, like, it's not like a need, but it's a want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, like I would move to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And but I had to start the interview process over again.
What?
Yes.
To
So then
interview with their team instead?
yes, it was because it was like the same role, but a different, I don't know. So I had to start it all over.
Yeah,
It
sure.
was the most draining interview process of my entire life. And then like they were like at the end, I had so many phone calls with these people. I had to meet all these other people. And they were like, would you go to Cincinnati? And I was like, I've had actually like I've talked to maybe 30 people from this company now. I was like, no, like, no, I'm done. I was like, no, I'm not moving to Cincinnati and I'm not interviewing anymore.
That's actually
And they're
why.
like, well, we would never want someone like not like a good worker to like not want to work here. And I'm like, I was like, well, you had someone that really wanted to work here and now you don't.
Yeah, what?
Like I'm just like why can't everyone just be on one call, the 10 people, everyone can
Yeah.
ask questions.
Yeah. Wait, so was this right out of college or was this when you were transitioning from your
I
first
was
job to your second job?
yeah, this was like when I was transitioning.
Okay. So talk about because for me, like Sophia Stampton is
Oh
literally
my God. No, Sarah, I really resonate with like I've lived like 10 lives.
no. Let me say this because your bio on Instagram has been your self-fulfilling prophecy your entire life. Like it was like future lawyer, future doctor, future
Oh,
astronaut, future
I
blah blah blah.
forgot about that. That's
Yeah,
how long it's been since I've opened Twitter.
yeah.
And I did win Best Female Twitter in high school.
Slay.
My
I won
superlative.
most patriotic. What is that? Give me biggest flirt
That,
and let's get out of here. Like
what
what?
guy? Wait, who got, do you remember who got the guy for Biggest Patriot?
Guess, dude.
Was it Hot
Guess.
Sauce?
No. Jake Steiner. Whole thing actually just pissed me off because I remember I won like three superlatives actually. It was like best eyes, most patriotic, and best dressed. And they're like, you have to pick one. I'm like, one? Sorry, I'm the best at those three. They're like, what?
Well, I don't know how I got Best Female Twitter. And I was like, honestly, I'm gonna have to go back to my tweets from high school because I'm like, what was I tweeting where
I feel like you got a lot of retweets on stuff.
I was like, wow, I was like, I'm really gonna have to go back. I was like, honestly, I should probably delete my Twitter because who knows what honestly I tweeted that can come back
Dude,
and
I just turned mine into a burner account. Like mine is my Animal Crossing photo and like some strange handle. Like you cannot find me on X. You cannot find me on X.
hag. Wait, that's so I totally forgot my bio, but no, I really have spoken it into existence because like even
Hmm.
in college, like John Carroll's like a small school, like it's a very small university. So like your classes are at most like they can be from like 8 people to like
Well,
30, like at most, and 30 is like crazy.
well.
And like I think I really struggle like something I've known I've loved doing is like meeting new people.
Hmm.
I love meeting new people and I'm great at it. I love socializing. I'm great at like I'm
Hmm.
always good at having like a first impression and like
Hmm.
getting to know people and like getting them to like trust me and like
Hmm.
it's just something I've always loved and I've been good
Hmm.
at. So I
I
think in
agree.
college I really struggled with like picking a major 'cause it's like you're putting yourself in this bubble with the same 20 kids for the next 4 years.
Hmm.
So it's like I started college with like a business and then with a business degree. I switched my major 8 times in college. Like actually 8 times.
So two
Like
times a year on average, yeah.
I didn't even declare my major till like end of junior year, like finals week.
And I'm sorry, but what did you major in?
I ended up majoring in psychology and
Okay,
I
that's actually a
minored
slay. Slay, Mrs. Bird.
and I no, literally me and her, I love her. I actually still talk to her every now and
She's a baller, dude. I messaged her one time in college. I was like, hey, so I'm helping one of my friends study for his psych exam. I'm not in psych, but I know more of the information than he does.
literally. And then I ended up minoring in entrepreneurship.
Oh, that's a slay. I love that.
Yeah, but I love the entrepreneurship minor because like any major on the entire campus could take it. So you're in
Okay.
like accounting, biology, English, finance, marketing, communications.
Were those all of your eight majors?
Literally, I like It's like actually like I remember when I graduated college, my like Instagram caption was comment which of my like career paths was your favorite. Because like I like actually was like, oh, like I'm gonna be a physical therapist for a point. And
Mm.
then like I had like a political science minor for a little bit and I was like, oh, I'll go to law school. And
Okay, Elle Woods.
no, it literally was giving that. And then I was like business and I was like, oh, maybe I want to like do something like my dad and do like finance.
Mm.
I joined like I was a psych major, but I was in like the business fraternity at
I
school.
remember this. Yep.
And I also was in the investments club, but I
Hmm.
also was in the pre-health society at school.
Yep.
Like I was in like the most like every realm of club you could think of on John Carroll University's campus, I was in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like it was just it's so hard because like I don't know, like it's still something I struggle with, I feel like. It's like you don't and at the end of the day, like I've learned like your degree does not matter.
No.
It doesn't like at all. Like your degree in college, really, even if you want to be a doctor, like if you get your prereqs and majored in English, whom it doesn't matter that you even
Yep.
majored
Yep. My
like
mom majored in journalism in undergrad. Yeah.
it really doesn't like I don't know, to me. Some people are really like but I will say like I do envy I've never been the person who's like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life and also love it. Like
Hmm.
Danielle, for example, she's
Hmm.
known she's wanted to be a physical therapist since we were 15.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like she knew right when we went to high school, she's like, I'm doing like the sports medicine, like the like
Hmm.
rotation in high school. I'm gonna go to college, major in kinesiology, go to grad school, be like get my doctorate in physical therapy. And she just graduated last weekend and she's like, she loves her like she loves it. And she's just
Yeah.
had that passion literally since we were 15, which is 10
Yeah.
years,
Yeah. Hmm.
which is but like I've just never been like that. Like I'm
Yeah.
so to meet new people and like I don't know, I want to just like I'm a hard worker.
But that's the thing that I think is important to recognize because I thought I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an engineer for the longest time. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And as I started doing it, I was like, whoa, this might not be exactly what I wanted to do. And it's like kind of what you said, grass is always greener on the other side. Like you think that you have this idea and you romanticize this idea of something that you think is going to happen or how you think something's going to play out. And then all of a sudden it's your reality. And if you don't like the people you're working with and you don't like the job that you're doing, like you're gonna really struggle.
Yeah, and I think it's all learning and like it does all work out. I think definitely like everyone's gonna make like mistakes, I think especially with their career. Like they're gonna some people are gonna leave a job that they shouldn't have or take a job they shouldn't have or
Hmm.
like just like but it all works out. I
Oh
just
yeah.
like tell myself like at the end of the day, like you're not gonna be a millionaire tomorrow.
Hmm.
Might have to not go buy your Starbucks tomorrow, but like
Yep.
it like works out and like I see things like even like I talk to my manager at my old job still like my dad just texted me. I was like he's like was trying to call me and I was like on a podcast, Sarah's. And he goes, "Wait, how do I listen?" Like he thinks we're like live podcasting right now.
Send him the Zoom link.
Like I'm like, "Dad, like I was like this isn't live."
Yeah, it's actually the Today Show live on Fox 5.
I was like it's not live. But anyways,
For me, when I moved out here, I'm identifying with all these people, going on a new journey and like doing this whole thing. And how are you feeling now? Because obviously you graduated school, you started talking about how you started your first job and then you had another job. So what was that career change like? What was the switch? How did that go? Because obviously you still talk to
yeah,
your manager and you still have a
yeah.
relationship with your manager.
Yeah, so I was very lucky. I had I started working for a company right outside of college, and I got it through just like networking through John Carroll.
Hmm.
It was a company, like a startup, and I even like, I mean, it's crazy. Like one of my like best friends now, we graduated John Carroll the same year, and we like followed each other on Instagram, but we never said like a word to each other all 4 years. And now she's one of
What?
my like, best friends. It's so crazy because like we're like how like we had like mutual friends too, and we never said a single word to each other all 4 years.
And again, John Carroll is a small school.
It's a really small campus. Like it's like a
And you
college in
did
the middle of
every
a
single,
neighborhood.
yeah, and you did every single major. So how could you have not?
So literally, like I took econ, I took like physical science, I almost minored in like I was everywhere. And but like I started, it was like I graduated psychology. My first job out of college, I was like the title was closing specialist. Like I was closing loans.
What?
It was kind of like, yeah, but like I don't know, like I'm very someone where
Like the mortgage engineer?
like wait. It took me a second. Yeah,
Speaking of dad influencers.
literally. But I think like a big thing that like we need to like give ourselves more credit for is like we do have skills that like you can't teach.
Hmm.
Like we were just talking about like being like a relationship driven people and like that's something where like we are very culture driven relationship like like and we're hard workers.
Hmm.
Like those are skills you can't teach people.
Hmm.
Either have them or you don't have them.
Hmm.
So I think like out of college, like I started working here, very small company, and honestly, it was like everyone I worked with is like our age,
Yeah, that's awesome.
which was just like cool. Like it was like
Yeah.
I don't know, like it was just a really cool opportunity, and like I loved it, and like then I kind of switched into they had like I think it was just like a marketing coordinator or like event coordinator position open. And I was like, oh, like I wonder like what that job kind of
Hmm.
entails. I was like. It's like startups, they're like you kind of like all hands on deck. You kind of do a little bit of everything, which
Yeah.
is really cool. And like honestly, amazing, like it's amazing experience. Like
Oh
you
yeah.
like so much.
Hmm.
And so I like messaged like the manager, Jill, and like we met and like I switched over to kind of like a marketing and events role.
Hmm.
So kind of like obviously like a 180 from what my previous.
Very different closing operator, closing
Yeah,
loans. Yeah.
yeah. So and honestly it was like amazing. Like what I really loved about like Jill was like she made a point to like meet with me. Like one we had meetings just like little just like kind of just like she knows that I would do what I need to get done in a work day.
Hmm.
Like but she still wanted to like
Which is
just
so valuable in a manager.
yeah.
So valuable.
She like trusted me. She also wanted like my insights on things. Like but she would meet with me once a month and like we would talk about everything I liked and what I didn't like about my job.
Hmm.
Like she would even say like if you could change like your job description, what would you want to like put in it?
Hmm.
Like she's like Sophia, like let's talk it out. Like let's like try and like morph your job description into exactly what you want to be doing. And we could keep change like we can like keep changing and keep growing it. And it's like
Yeah. That's
and like
awesome.
it's like amazing. And like she even like even if we weren't mean talk about work, she was like, "Do you want to like get coffee before going into the office tomorrow? And we can just like talk about life or just like whatever."
Hmm.
Like it didn't always have to be like a business like one-on-one. Like we were just like in coffee or like she's like, "Oh, do you want to go get lunch?" Or like
Hmm.
she like would send me like things that like made her like think of me or something like
Hmm.
just things like that and like on it and I saw like I told you like I talk to her like every day and like she's like I don't know it's just like very lucky and like you don't always get managers that like generally are helping you like morph your own job description
Your
and
career. Yeah.
yeah and like I had a great team and then for me where like the next like 180 kind of comes in is like I love the people and the culture and like I had this amazing team and like it
Hmm.
was a team where like we weren't even all living in the state of Ohio. Like people were like hybrid, remote, or like living other places, but like they were still my team.
Hmm.
And so like this is where the 180 comes in. So in undergrad, when COVID happened,
Hmm.
obviously there's no jobs, no internships,
Right.
nothing, COVID. And I'm not someone that likes to sit still.
Oh yeah, no.
And I don't like I did the whole idea of like staying at home all day really did not resonate well with me.
Yep.
And especially during COVID, like in Canada, it was me, my dad, my brother, my grandmother, and my uncle all under one roof.
What was your uncle doing in this mix?
He was like moving back to Ohio.
Mm,
He was like with us, and it was just like, a lot. And it
yeah.
was a lot of people. You couldn't go to the grocery store. You couldn't just
Yep.
like I
Yep.
couldn't walk around my childhood neighborhood many more times.
Yeah.
So the only places that were hiring during COVID were hospitals.
Mm,
So I got a job as a nurse assistant in undergrad.
mm-hmm.
And I was a nurse assistant on the child and adolescent psychiatric unit. And
Mm-hmm.
I continued that job like summer going into senior year. And I worked like honestly like all of my senior year there. Like honestly, like a ton of hours, to be honest. Because I like
What?
honestly like I loved it. Like I loved being like at the hospital. Like I same concept where like I really think it wasn't even the actual job all the time, but I had such great coworkers.
Yeah.
Like
Makes a difference.
I loved being there. Like I would pick up shit. Like it'd be like I'm like going out with my friends on a Friday night and they're like, "Oh, can you work like at 7 a.m. tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, I would
I'm
love to actually. Who am I supposed to talk about my Friday night with other than you
like
people?
literally I'm like, "Okay." Like I was like, "Yeah, I'll pick up." Like I just went to this past summer I went to a wedding for one of the girls that worked on the unit with me and like our entire table was like the entire like other like all the nurses and like
That's
other
so
staff.
funny.
Like we're still like super close. And so I kind of was like the industry for my job out of college wasn't exactly, I think, like it wasn't driving me. The actual job I loved and like I had an amazing team, culture, like I still talk
Hmm.
to a lot of people. Like I'm literally babysitting tonight for someone. I'm babysitting tonight for someone that works at my old company.
Okay.
Like I just had like I don't know, it was very tight knit.
Hmm.
And but I was like I don't think this industry is like exactly like where I see myself.
Hmm.
And but I was like so I was trying to think of like things I liked and didn't like about life.
Yeah.
Like what about other jobs or other experiences have I enjoyed? And I'm like for me like I was in like marketing, like sales it. I was going to like conferences a lot and like
Hmm.
meeting with going to like events with like customers and like I was doing like social media stuff and like a
Hmm.
little bit of everything. And I was like, I love like I'm great with like people and
Hmm.
like I love meeting new people. I'm good at getting them to like me also.
Hmm.
Like I know how to talk to them. I'm good at like reading a room. I know
Hmm.
like when to talk and when not to talk in a professional environment, which which I'm sure
Add the added caveat of in a professional environment.
in professional. Because like some people don't know when to stop talking.
Oh no, I know.
It like blows my mind. Like my last job, I remember a sales guy. The biggest thing with sales is being a listener,
Hmm.
obviously.
Hmm.
And like I remember one of the sales guys I used to work with called me and like he was like asking me if he could do like some sponsorship or something.
Hmm.
And I like with I didn't even ask like lot of the details, but I was like, "Oh yeah, like I don't like do it just like send me like how much it is and like I'll take care of it or just let me know and I can add it to like the budget to like just keep track it." And he was like, wouldn't he was like then continuing to try and sell it to me. And I'm like, I already said yes.
Yeah.
Literally already said you can do it. Stop trying to sell it to me.
You're gonna make me say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, and then I realized I was like, oh, like I honestly like loved being at the hospital. Like maybe I could find a job that's more in like the healthcare industry.
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of like started looking, I utilized LinkedIn and kind of started reaching out to a ton of people and like seeing their
Hmm.
advice and like kind of picking their brains and seeing like what options are there because I think like and not even just with like the healthcare industry with any industry or any job market you don't really they don't talk about them in undergrad.
Oh no.
So
No.
many jobs out there that like even I was doing like corporate events and like I didn't know that was like a job. Like I didn't know
Yep.
there was that person who's doing like social media and like invites for like client meet. Like I didn't know that was a job.
Yep.
Like I think like in undergrad they teach you that it's like you either go to grad school, you can do finance, accounting, be a counselor, be a teacher, like that's it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And it's so wild because with engineering, you can do so many things with it, so many things. But they're like, okay, so this is how everyone's trajectory is going to go. You're going to be an entry-level engineer, then you're going to go to engineer number two, then you're going to go to senior engineer, then you're going to be vice president of engineering, and then you're going to be president of engineering, and then you're going to be president of company, and then you're going to be CEO. Because like that was also Miami's thing of like we are business, like we are putting business with everything. And so everything that you did was about climbing the ladder of how to get to the next thing, how to get to the next thing of
Yeah.
that same niche that you were in. It wasn't how to really diversify your abilities in doing things. And it wasn't, hey, how do I utilize this degree, but in a different path?
Yeah.
And
No.
that for
I-
me, I was like, okay, my second job, they found out, okay, you're very technical, you understand the technical side of things, but you're also good enough at talking to people for to relay it to them and have them understand it and then relay it back to our technical team of what they need to do. So you're going to consult. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, and like it's like you like it's like I don't know. I wish like even like jobs like I don't even really like I feel like a lot like I don't even really know what consulting is.
Mm-hmm.
Like day to day.
It's vague. It's
Like
so vague.
or like I saw another job the other day where I was like I didn't even know that was like you know that's a part of a company, but what it that's like a role that
Right.
like you could
Yeah.
like grow in. And like I don't know, I don't know, it's just adulting is like crazy, honestly. Like figuring out like what you want to do and like I'm in like a job where I'm in like a healthcare role, but it's like very clinical
Mm-hmm.
and definitely like learning curves and like it's
Mm-hmm.
like crazy. Like I think like I don't know. It's like a learning curve, but like
Oh yeah.
I think it's just like but it's an experience that's allowing you to like learn a lot about yourself
Mm-hmm.
and meet people and like I think at the end of the day all you could do is like work as hard as like work hard and like give yourself grace.
Yeah. Which
I
is
think
so, so, so hard. It's
yes,
so much
no,
easier said
easier
than
said
done.
than yes, Jinx. Yeah, literally it is easier said than done. Like I called so I have like a mentor kind of like someone I really look up to at my company now. And they like I called him the other day and I was like I was like this is hard. Like I
Hmm.
was like this is like so crazy, honestly. Like
Hmm.
and I was like I'm just feeling like so like stuck like and he's like you need to give yourself some grace. Like you like are like 8 months into this job like and I've been in this industry for like 30 years and like I'm still learning. And he's like I
Hmm.
like I mean, he's like this is crazy stuff to learn.
Hmm.
Like you need to like in 2 minutes, like when we get off this call, like close your laptop, go do something with like your friends.
Yeah.
Go do something like you like give yourself grace.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. So I think like easier said than done, but like I think at the end of the day, especially whether it's finding a career or in your current career or whichever, you just need to it all works out.
Oh,
And
for sure.
not exactly how you want it to or in the exact plan. And like one of my best friends, she was working at like a really big company. She was a biomedical engineer degree from Ohio State. And we were talking the other day, she was like traveling like a ton for work. Like she'd be like they would tell her like you need to leave like on a Sunday and like
Hmm.
holiday, like traveling like a ton. And she could be gone like by herself in like the middle of nowhere for like 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's wild.
And like she's like, I just like she's like, I know it sounds like horrible, like because like this is like a forever company, people say. She's like, but I can't like she's like, I just like don't see this like being like worth
Hmm.
like the stress, the
Hmm.
loneliness.
Hmm.
Like she's like, and it is for some people. Like some people don't like
Right.
mind some people like being like by the on their own and like don't really mind that.
Hmm.
But I just like she's like, I'm 24, like I should be able to like go on dates during the week and not feel guilty. And
Yeah.
like I should be able to like go for a walk after work and not feel like I should be like working like at
Yeah.
8 p.m. She's like, I
Yeah.
just can't do it anymore. And I'm like, she's like, and is it the smartest thing for me to give up this job where I have like I'm making great money, I have like a company car,
Hmm.
like I have all these great perks, like probably not the best decision, but like I need to put like my happiness a little
Right.
further.
But
I'm
it's
like,
also like you're 24. Do you really want to be like you're unhappy? And my cousin said it to me best. He was like, you don't need to love what you do, but you can't hate what you do every day. And if you're dreading going in and being like, I don't want to be lonely for 4 weeks, I don't want to travel on a Sunday again, then yeah, you probably need to get out of Dodge. You need to take a step back. Like, do you think I wanted to quit my six-figure career to go and make $14 an hour?
Yeah. No,
Like,
literally.
sometimes there are moments in your life where you have to prioritize. You have to figure out what is important to you, first of all. So, obviously, for you and me, relationships are hugely important to the culture of our environments. And
Mhm.
we need to be in environments that have a really good culture. So, that, and whenever I'm on an interview, that is the question that I ask is, what is the culture like at your company? And so, that's something that's very important to me. And so when you start feeling like, oh, this thing isn't resonating with me, and it's not that I dislike the company, it's not that I dislike the work that I'm doing, it's that something that you value deeply isn't resonating and isn't it might be
Yeah.
different for a variety of different people. Obviously, you and I is relationships, connections, those sort of things. But like if you don't want to travel on the weekends and you prioritize your freedom and you prioritize your life outside of work, then that's a good enough reason for you to say, hey, maybe I should step back and try and find something that's more suited towards me.
Yeah. And I think there's nothing worse too when like you are purposely like, and not purposely, like you don't even like realize it half the time, but you're ruining like your own like relationships with others because of like your like either like because of your bad days or like your hard days and
Hmm.
like I was like, oh my God, I was just like so rude to like my dad on the phone and like it had nothing to do with like him and like I was just like so rude.
Yeah.
And like just because like you just had like a bad day and like are like either unhappy or stressed and like
Hmm.
it's like I don't know, I think too like when me and her were talking, it's like you can be at like a small company or you could be at a company where there's like a million employees and there could still be company culture.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I I'm like very big on that. I talked to a guy who's like managed for a big company last week and like at the end of our phone call I was like honestly I was like I love your outlook on like culture and like leadership and like I'm someone where I feel like there has to be this like norm that like you can't have like a culture and have like a big company or like it's like it has to be an
Yeah.
optional. And I don't think it has to be
Mm-mm.
an option. I think it like should be a priority. I was like, I
Right.
think actually now a lot of people our age are prioritizing culture.
Oh, 100%. And that's why we see this high turnover rate of attrition of younger people. And the your friend from OSU, she's probably looking at her forever company because everyone at that company is likely older than she is. And they've been there forever. And that is so ingrained in the older generation's minds of my
Yes.
dad has
Wait, I was
worked
just gonna say, what does your dad think about this? Because it's probably the same as my dad.
my dad has worked at the same company since he graduated college. And
Literally.
so when I made, and he is very into like pop culture, he's very into current events. And so he understands, like he'll send me articles of like how to increase your salary by $20,000 a year by switching jobs. And it's like he gets it and he gets job hopping and he's not really a big stickler about you have to stay the same job. But my grandfather, however, when I told him that I did not want to work at my job anymore and I wanted to go and work out on a ranch and figure out what I wanted to do, he was very nervous. He was like, well, how are you going to get a job when you leave the ranch? And I was like, what do you mean?
Like, what are you talking about? The
I'm,
crazy.
I'm like, have you like what LinkedIn maybe? I don't know. But like
Yeah.
it is so so ingrained that you go to a company and you stay there and you climb the corporate ladder. But that's not the case anymore. It doesn't matter how much work you put in. You're not climbing the ladder in the same way that people used to.
Yeah, or and I feel like there's not a lot of people who want to like I gave the example of like my old manager who want to like use they see your skills and they see that you're a hard worker and they want to help build a job
Oh yeah.
description that fits that.
Oh, but that's so rare, Sophia. That
It's
is
so rare.
so rare. Like
Yeah. I'm
I've
gonna need to
never
text her after
heard.
this and be
Yeah,
like,
thank
I'm like, I
you.
don't think you realize like you were one of a kind.
Yeah, because I've never had a manager like that ever. And like I've had good managers. But I've never had a manager that was like, how do we make a career for you for this? Like that's wild.
Yeah, I was extremely lucky and go
That's
on.
so funny. No, but like for me, I think it would be really fun if I found somebody that had the same energy as me. Not a requirement, but it's also like I need you to like I was dating a guy here and it was it felt the same way. It was like I can't leave a situation and I'm constantly looking at you being like, "Are you having fun? Are you like you're just sitting there. Are you having fun? Please be having fun."
And it gets frustrating because you know they would never have to have that feeling about you. Because whenever you go into a room with all of their friends or their family,
Mm-hmm.
you have a smile on your face, first off.
Mm-hmm.
You are, even if you're in a horrible mood, they would never know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are like putting your best foot forward and you're treating them like you've known them your whole life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you want someone that would like do the same, or at least one, like it's like one thing like not being like outgoing in a relationship and like not wanting to like be super social, like that's one thing, but it's also like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you feel like they're willing, like they're purposely just like not trying to like go
You're
out of their way.
sabotaging our relationship.
Like it's like at least like you can't at least ask my friends like how's work?
Yeah.
Like literally like the bare like you can't
You
just say
can't be
how
like,
are you?
I know, and it's also like I know you follow them on Instagram. I know you just saw that my friend went to vacation in Cancun. Like, ask her about it. Ask her about it.
Well, yeah, I'm not asking you to have some like deep talk about like your like childhood trauma.
I mean, that's what I do when I go out, to be honest. I'm like, okay, so like, how are you
So,
doing? How's it going? Trauma. I mean, like,
literally.
how has your dad affected you? Like,
Literally.
oh,
So, what is your relationship with your
Jesus
sibling?
Christ.
With Jesus Christ. So, what's your view on faith?
Like, have you had a calling to Jesus moment? Have you had an out of body experience? Let me tell you about mine.
Literally. And it's like it's like we're not even asking of that. It's like I dated a guy in college where like he like willingly would just say like I don't really I'm not the social one you are. And I'm just like, dude, I'm like I'm not asking you to be like me. Obviously that I'm my
Mhm.
energy could be hard to match.
Yeah.
Ask my friend how their day is.
Yeah. It's and that's that, dude. Like I maybe it's because I also think about it, it's like you marry someone similar to your dad. Like girls marry someone similar to dad, boys marry someone similar to their mom. And I'm like, every guy that I've dated love their mom. Have such a good relationship with their mom because I am their mom. I am the energy of their mom. And then I think of what my dad is, and I love my dad, he's a saint, but he is the one sitting in the like during my brother's graduation party. We had it was like a joint graduation because you know my neighborhood, it was like everybody lived in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so it was like three people's graduation parties and we were having it in our neighbor's yard. My dad was sitting on our porch watching the graduation party from our lawn. And I was like, he's content. I know he is, but it's like that's those are the men I keep dating. But stop. I don't want that.
Literally. And like it's so like no, I totally like you think of like little things that like your dad and it's also like I don't know. I feel like I want like you said I've always been very close with like the people I'm like dating's like families. Like
Hmm.
that's just like I don't know, like I genuinely like the when I was dating my boyfriend in college, like, I loved his family. I love them.
Hmm.
Like they are just such great
Girl, I still
people.
comment on my ex-boyfriend's aunt's photos. I'm like,
Like
oh my God, that's so crazy.
but then you look back and you're like, but they like had no relationship with my family.
Oh yeah. And
Like,
considering
did
how
your ex
close,
like would your ex have like a relationship with either of your parents?
no, no.
Like, isn't that crazy to think about how close you were with theirs and they like had none with like your siblings or anything?
Yeah. Like I think that he, I mean, when I think of my ex, I think of like, I think of my long-term
Yeah.
boyfriend that became my ex. But yeah, I would say I was closer with like his extended relatives than he was with my siblings.
And that, yes,
Like,
it's
and even like his childhood best friends, I was closer with his childhood best friends than he was with my siblings.
it's a great no, it's literally crazy. Like I still have some of his like friends that like will reach out to me and be like, "Oh, I'm in like Cleveland tonight. Like, do you want to meet us out for a drink?" Like his
Dude,
friend still
one of
texts.
yeah, one of Brett's friends, I'm gonna cut this out, but one of Brett's friends literally DM'd me on Instagram the other day and was like, I just got laid off of my job. Like, I see that you're having so much fun on the ranch. Like, I think that that's something that I want to do. Like, maybe do you think that that's a good idea? Blah, blah. I'm like, maybe I should have dated you. Maybe I should.
Literally,
Like, that's a funny thought.
literally,
But
like things like that are like, um,
also, his mom bought me this sweatshirt. Like, literally, smiley face, elbow.
wait, that's actually really funny. That's like the duffel bag I use like every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I go home or if I go somewhere, it's a duffel bag that my ex's family got me.
Mm-hmm.
Or like they got me my Nespresso
Yep.
and I like use it like every morning and I'm like, I think of them every morning.
I know, and it's so sad. Like oh my God, it's I, the amount of clothes that his mom bought me is actually kind of insane. And it's every time I put them on, I just think of her. I don't think of him, I think of her.
No, no, I really resonate with that. Like
hmm
actually so much because like I don't know, or like I don't know, I think like in relationships like that too, like I'm so quick to, like I think of like one-off things that like he would say and I thought were so normal. And I'm like
Like
looking
what?
back, I'm like the first thing that comes to my head is I remember like I think it was like after like a family thing that like he had, I remember I was like, I like love your family so much.
hmm
Like I was like, they're just such great people and like I really do love them. And he's like, he got so weirded out.
That
Like
you
so
said you loved his
he like
family?
like maybe you like them, but you don't love them. Like he got so like not like mad, but like
Territorial.
he thought it was the weirdest thing that I said I loved his family.
Dude, the way that like I love so many things. I love so many things and I love so many people. So like no, it simply is not weird for me to love your family. Like
It's
it
like,
is weird
wouldn't
for
you
you to
want?
gatekeep your family. Like no one else is allowed to love my family but me. Like what?
But wouldn't you want the person you're dating to love your family?
Yes.
Is that like a crazy concept?
Simply put, yes.
Like, I think honestly, it's become like my Roman Empire a little bit is like thinking about how, like, I'm like, was I weird for saying I love my boyfriend's family?
No. No. I think
Like,
about that. I don't think that there's like one specific event, but it was like I felt weird in my relationship because I felt like I was the one that wasn't putting my family out there of being like, oh, hey, like this is my family. Do you want to get to know them? Because it was like I was always going to Connecticut. I was always going to New
yeah.
York. I was always going on vacation with them. And I was like, oh, am I just not putting out the effort? No, I was. I simply was.
No, that's like a really good point because I think like it is easy to be like, okay, like maybe I'm not inviting them around my family enough, or maybe I'm not like, maybe I should like FaceTime like my family more when I'm with him, or like have them have more of that like interaction. But it's like, no, like you were tr like, and it also goes both ways. Like they should like be like, oh, like maybe we can go get dinner with like your like. It's so easy to blame yourself, but it's also like I know that like I was like putting in the effort. Like I went out of my way to like text his family or like call
hmm
them and like with even
hmm
like without like him even like knowing I was reaching out to them.
Yeah.
Like it was like out of like the like who I am.
hmm
And like I think for us, like we want to date people that also would want to put in that like kind of like mindless effort. 'Cause it's not like, oh, I'm gonna text them so they like me. It's because you genuinely like either wanted to know how something they did went or like you genuinely were like checking in. It had nothing to do with even that you were dating them. It's just like you
You
had a good
cared.
relationship. Yeah, you
Yeah.
care. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
things
that
like
it
that.
is such a hard thing to find, even in friends, because that's also what I struggle with being a nomad is I feel like people don't really get to know who I am. And I know that that's not true because like I literally put my life out on social media so people know who I am. But like at the same time, last weekend I went out with some of my like people that I work with here and we were drinking and I just like felt this anxiety of like, is what I'm saying landing with these people or do they think that I'm like that I've lost it? And I just like felt so anxious the entire next day because I was like, I don't know if they think that that is like a sincere version of myself. I don't know. And like, I just second guess everything. And then I'm sitting there like, okay, how do I meet people that I can deeply resonate with? Because even like my close friends here, sometimes I'm like, you don't know who I am.
Yeah, well, I think too, like you said, like you've lived like 10 lives.
Mm-hmm.
And like where I think like I'm very big where I think like a lot of your traits, like you do, like I think we both have been like so, like what? We've been friends since kindergarten.
Oh yeah.
And like cue a picture of us from kindergarten. Uh,
Literally, I'm literally thinking the Cleveland Zoo and our
literally,
tie-dye shirts.
like we've had like very like there's traits that we've had like since we were in kindergarten
Mm-hmm.
that like make you who you are. I mean, I think people obviously change with age and time and experience, but like a lot of like your traits you do start having like when you're a kid.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
And
I think I don't know if you've ever struggled with this. Like, do you feel that you become a chameleon to your environment? And there's also sometimes that you feel like, who am I?
yes, I went through a phase for honestly like a hot sec where like I genuinely and like I'm still kind of like I feel like in this phase right now where like depending who I'm with, like I felt like
Mm-hmm.
in college I used to always I like was like the loudest in the room, not even because I'm trying to be,
Mm-hmm.
like I just like was.
Mm-hmm.
Like
For
I
me,
don't
it's like I think I'm funnier the louder that I am. So I just volume notch all the way up. Like, hear me?
like I'm like I don't know, and I feel like then I'm in this like phase where I'm like I really don't feel like I need to be this like sometimes I'm like I don't really feel like I need to be this outgoing person. Like
Turning it
I like
off,
go
hitting
like
mute.
no seriously I'm like I'm going out to the bar I'm driving there so I don't drink and
Mm-hmm.
I'll go like make my presence and then I can drive home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like and
No,
I'm like
that's how I
I
was
would
when I was
never
sober.
like this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And well, for me, it's like, so when I think of chameleon, I think of, like you said, when you're with different groups, you act a different way. And it's
Mhm.
like, I'm with so many different various groups, like, especially over the past year. Like, I lived in Boston, I've lived in San Diego, I've lived in Colorado, I've lived
And
in,
like went to Europe like
yeah. So I'm with very, very different groups of people during this past year of my life. And so for me, it's like I'm turning into a frat boy, finance bro, whatever in Boston, like booze hound in Boston. And then I was like, whoop, I'm sober, like not doing this anymore. So then I was like, all right, that's an identity that I'm giving myself. Like
yeah.
I'm becoming so, and so I'm trying to like place identities onto myself. And then I'm like, identities are so hard because like you said in college, like you don't want to pick a major because you don't want to be defined to one specific thing because you like
Yeah.
meeting people.
And you're gonna be in this like circle and like nothing against the psych majors. I love them, but like I struggled because like I didn't want to be in a class with these 20 people all 4 years
Hmm.
of college and like John Carroll's a small school. Like you should be able to like go meet people like which I'm very lucky that like John Carroll does have like so much like involvement because like I did take full advantage of it and I think it
Hmm.
honestly like I think the reason why I'm able to like I'm very good at like selling myself and
Hmm.
like especially like in interviews like I'm great at like listening to like recruiters or hiring managers and like having conversations with them that are just not like what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, like I feel like when I interview it's very like more conversation.
Right.
And I do think a lot of that is because of like John Carroll, like because they like really like emphasize like trying new things and like being in clubs and like I'm able to I was to be so involved and I don't know. I think it's very easy to put yourself in like a bubble of like this is what I'm doing and I'm riding with it.
Hmm. And that for me is just so hard. And so going back to our previous point of thought, because we have like four conversations going on right now, um with being in college and you having four career plans and trying to figure out what you want to be and who you want to be and trying to find, like, I think both of us are very, very much so relationship driven people, and not
Mhm.
necessarily like always romantic relationships.
Yeah.
It's relationships matter, and we take that seriously to our cores. And if we don't have relationships that matter where we're at, it's really difficult for us to identify with what we're doing. And
Yeah.
so,
Literally, how funny is that? I was like, I know I have that picture. I was like, I like envision like my I was like, I know like exactly what we're wearing. I was like, I pictured in my head. I
what
was
did you
like,
just search for? I knew that was the shirt I was wearing. I knew it.
wait, let me look at it.
It's like a little hot chocolate. I was in my old Navy grind, dude.
This was like the full picture. It was great.
Oh, that's so cute.
Gems kindergarten class.
Oh,
Like that is like, oh my God, we actually like really random pictures we've sent each other
oh yeah. Hmm.
that are like really funny.
I don't think, especially in our high school group message. Also, why have I been popping off in that group message recently? I literally am just like, there's no one on this ranch. And so I'm like, I need people to talk to. And so I'm just like,
I feel like the dynamic of like high school, like we like really were like it really was like one of a kind.
oh
Like
yeah.
I don't know anyone else. Like none of my friends I met through college or work like talk to people really from like high school.
Mhm. I
Or
mean,
like they
I
like in like a
definitely
big group.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't
I definitely don't. It's
know.
really,
You just like we talk in like our like butter container like group chat.
yeah. And that's really the only time that I ever talk to anybody that's not you and Kendra.
Yeah. Like I feel like in high school, like our grades, like the
Yeah.
grade above us and the grade below us, like weren't really as like tight. Like I feel like I don't know, there's just it's not like we just like at least like for me, like we just don't talk to like one like we like yesterday, for example, there was like 40 of us. And then like we all went to Glen Oak High School. And Sarah's like, that's my worst nightmare.
I am actually very scared of that. I'm very scared of being in a room, mostly because, Sophia, I don't think, and everyone always makes fun of me. They're like, Sarah, how do you not remember high school? I was like, that was a traumatizing period of my life. I was bullied. A large portion of your identity was number one, who you took classes with, and number two, who you played sports with. And since we didn't play any sports together, we weren't friends until like maybe junior year. Maybe junior year is when we started being friends again. And it
Yeah.
wasn't that we like disliked each other or
Yeah. Because
anything.
like we like still like we're like in like the same like big group of people. Like we like
Yeah.
did things in group. I feel like, yeah, it probably was like we were in the same prom group or homecoming group senior year.
And
No, honestly, you know
junior
what
year.
it was?
Was
We
it junior year?
it might have been well, like because I think it was junior, but really I think what did it was senior year. You were on the swim team senior year, and I was on the diving team.
Oh my gosh, you are
And
so right.
we decided to be try new sports our senior year of high school.
That was in our narrative. That was in our workings. That was us trying to find our identity. That was us networking and socializing.
Yes, like we decided to enter a whole new circle of people our
Senior
senior
year.
year of high school.
Yes. And if that doesn't give a testament to who we are as humans, I don't know what does.
No,
I,
because we like especially like it's not like we like picked up like a club. Like we full on committed to
to
being
a
in a
sport. A
sport.
hard sport. Swimming is the hardest thing I've ever done.
It's so hard. And I'm like I like chose to do like diving.
Yeah. For what? Dude, I remember my dad was like coming to one of my first swim meets. He didn't know what to expect. He'd never been to a swim meet before. And I was doing the 500, like the longest event that you can do. And people are trying to shave like seconds off of their time. And I'm out here trying to shave minutes off of mine. I'm like struggling to flip turn. It's 20 laps in a pool, people. It's 20 laps. And you have these little people at the end of your lane that have your numbers of how many laps that you have. And they'll put them in the water so that way you know how many laps that you have left. And they'll swing them side to side if you need to slow your pace down, or they'll crank them up and down if you need to go faster. Let's just say I've never seen them swinging it side to side. Never seen them swinging it side to side. And you would hear the bell. They have a bell for when the first person is on their last lap of their 20 laps.
Yeah.
And I would hear the bell and I would swim down and see I still have 4 laps to go. So by my calculations, that is about 3 minutes. These people are just like units. These people have been swimming, they're fish. They've been swimming since they were 3.
Yes, and they're like, how do I get like 0.10 seconds like
They're like
faster?
shaving their body hair while we're sitting on the sideline. I'm sitting there eating a jelly donut. Like, when is my event? In high school, you're given so many opportunities to do so many different things for free. And people will teach you how to do them for free. Like you can learn how to speak another language. You can learn how to play sports. You can learn how to do a variety of things in high school for free. And then as soon as you graduate high school, like even when you graduate college or when you graduate high school and go to college, you have to pay a club fee in college. For why? My tuition wasn't enough for you? Like,
Really. What did you do your like, you know how we had to do capstone senior year of high school?
yeah,
What did you do yours on?
myself.
Like what career did you have? Like
Oh,
did you do
mechanical engineering.
mechanical engineering?
Or did I do biomedical? I don't remember. I th no, that is what I did. I did biomedical and I said that I wanted to build prosthetics for wounded veterans, which that would still be really sick. However, I I then tried to move to Boston, or I did move to Boston because Boston is like the hub of innovation, the hub of
Yeah.
medicine. Like it was kind of the perfect combination of the place that I needed to be. And then I moved there and I was like, oh, everyone here went to MIT and Harvard. You didn't get your degree, you didn't get a 3.0 at Miami University. Weird. Weird.
Weird, but okay, whatever you
You
say.
don't want a little diversity in your mix. You don't want a little fun, a little culture add.
Yeah,
I can
personality
provide that
hires
to you.
matter.
Yeah. So
I think I did my capstone honestly, and like
on being a personality hire.
the thing is like I don't even know why, because like I really have never had this urge to have this career. I don't know if I was just trying to like flex in front of our or what, because I'm like 99% sure in my senior of high school capstone, I said that I was going to be a pediatrician. And my first major in college was like business. Like I didn't even start college as like a science degree.
Oh,
So I have no idea why I said that, but
you
I
just
think I
wanted to
said I
stunt
was
on
going to go
everybody.
to I said I was going to go to John Carroll, major in biology, and then go to Butler for med school. And I don't even know if Butler has a med school.
Not something we checked into.
Like I really don't even know if they have a medical school there.
I don't know. It's not off the top of my head. Do I know
And
that?
my first college class I ever took was economics.
Like us bouncing from all of these topics really, really, truly is a testament to like how all over the place, number one, our brains are, and how we are at like a million miles a minute, and how we are the yapping queens of Canton, Ohio, to be honest, even
Literally
though
the daddy girl and yappers and relationship culture-based people who
are trying to
have a
figure
lot
it out,
to do
dude.
in the next 5 years.
Dude, that's what and so when I first started the podcast, it was all about like, oh, we have this figured out. Like, I know how to go grocery shopping now. Like, I know how to move somewhere now. And me now, I'm like, I don't know anything. I know nothing. And now it's kind of just like a story of, oh, here's how I thought I knew something. And now it's back to square one.
You don't know what you don't know, period. Like that's just like the
Yeah.
genuine. You don't
And then you
know,
find this
like
one thing that triggers you until all of a sudden you're learning so much, like you with your work, like you're learning so much about human physiology and the human body and like so many things that you didn't think that you would ever need to know.
yeah, and there's some things where I'm like days where I'm like, oh my God, like I did really good today, and other days where I'm like, what is going on? And like I think there's even things where it's like I didn't even know I didn't know that. I didn't know I needed to know that. Like I knew I needed to know it, but like to that extent.
Right.
like it's just this ongoing like learning, which is good because like I do love learning. I think I don't know. Gotta like I said, my for careers, give yourself grace.
Yeah. And that's with life too, because I also think that trying to identify as something and trying to identify like, oh yeah, I'm a career woman and oh like that becomes so hard in your 20s. Like
No,
I honestly like my identity is not going to be set until I'm 30. Maybe.
yeah,
Check with
then.
check with me when I'm 30.
Dude, but I just want you to know I love your podcast.
Thank you.
I will always be rooting for you to be like the next like Ellen DeGeneres. Or
Thank you. That's the goal,
and,
dude.
like
That's the
I love
goal.
it. We can be influencers together. One
Hell
day
yeah.
I'll decide how I want to be an influencer. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me on.
Yeah,
That was
thanks for coming
great.
on.
But love you, Queen.
Love you. Take care. Bye.